They call him Johnny Rock and Roll. They call him Johnny Rock and Roll. They call him Johnny Rock and Roll. He gets you hot if you're cold.
Listen all day and all night.
Eat the steak and then get a pen.
Oh, gnarly!
The theme song from the classic TV series Matlock, starring Andy Griffith and the one and only Daniel Roebuck. You've also seen him on TV shows like Star Trek The Next Generation, Lost, Nash Bridges, and 1,000,006 other shows, as well as movies like The Fugitive, Bubba Ho Tep, Halloween 1 and 2, Agent Cody Banks, Getting Grace, Lucky Louie. He's an actor, director, producer, a writer, a mentor, and his greatest achievement of all time being on the Johnny Rock and Roll radio show. He's currently filming the new Rob Zombie reboot of the 1964 classic film, The Munsters.
I love your enthusiasm.
Daniel Roebuck, what a pleasure to have you on Johnny Rock and Roll Radio, man. Thanks for being here.
Johnny, I am so thrilled to be here. You're a legend, and I'm a legend. So together we're legendary.
Legendary. That's my radio voice. Legendary.
That's a great voice.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, just to start off here, because when I do interviews, I get out of the radio voice, the Wolfman voice, because my radio show is a takeoff on Wolfman Jack. I grew up listening to Wolfman. He was my, I wanted to be Wolfman. Well, first I wanted to be Elvis. I did the hairbrush in the mirror, and
that's right, man. You were like, say, man, I'm Elvis in the mirror, man. That's right, baby.
One thing is, so I can't do the Wolfman voice throughout the whole interview, so I just eventually start talking like myself, But one of the things that I noticed right away that we have in common is that you did impressions when you were younger.
I did, yeah, I did. Isn't that what? By the way, I don't like. Who are you going to do now? Do Ben Affleck? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I know that sounds like I'm disrespecting Ben Affleck. I think he's a very good actor and director. What I'm saying is, you got Tom Hanks, you got Gary Sinise, or you got Rob Zombie. I don't know. We don't have the movie stars like we had. So when you were a kid and I was a kid, we had John Wayne and we had James Cagney and Rich Little and Frank Gorshin, and these guys had all of these magnificent movie stars to perform as. And now, I mean, all they got is me. So they're SOL, man.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Rich Little. Rich Little was one of the guys that I really admired because he was so dead on. And one of the things when you watched him visually, he made the facial expressions too, so he looked like a person. When I was
Douglas. Oh, they do, John White, right? Yeah.
I know who that is.
Hey, so by the way, Rich Little, people should know Rich Little still performs in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But if you're in Vegas, look him up. You can still see him. We saw the show 2 years ago. Fantastic. And so, can I tell you a quick Rich Little story?
Please do.
I like to talk, Johnny, about God, how good God is and how He keeps my life going full circle. And I believe me, I did everything I can to I'm trying to be the best guy I can. But if my life is full circle, then everybody's life could be full circle. That's the point I'm making.
Right
on. So I used to do impressions like you when I was a kid, and my mom took me to the Valley Forge Music Fair to see Rich Little. And after the show, you could go meet Rich Little. Now that was amazing because when you were 12, to meet someone on TV seemed like unbelievable. And although I talked about being on TV, I never really believed, I don't know that I could be on TV perhaps. So ultimately, so I go back, I meet Rich Little. That's whatever, 1974, I would guess, 75, 74, 73 maybe. And then in only 20 years later, 21 years later, I'm doing The Late Shift. I'm playing Jay Leno, and Rich Little is playing Johnny Carson. And I brought my book that he signed for me when I was 12 to the set, and he was like, why would you still have this?
Wow.
And so he signed it again. He wrote in it, I always knew we'd end up working together.
So that's an awesome story. That's the kind of stories I like to hear when we do these interviews, because people can Google, how somebody got started and, where they're from and stuff like that. And a lot of it's common knowledge, but stories is just, in memories, things that touch your heart. When I hear you talking about that, it reminded me of things that happened in my life, and which is, like I said in the beginning, when I was looking at your resume and your story, our stories are so much in common, with the impressions, the comedy, the act. The only thing that is different is that you're very successful. With me, my childhood, things that happened throughout my life, and going in a different direction. Instead of doing stand-up comedy, I went into radio and things like that. But I wanted to find out well, first, let's talk about what inspired you to. Did you want to be an actor first? Did you want to be a comedian first?
Great question. When we were kids, we just had entertainers. We were very lucky, you and I, people of our age, to have grown up with variety shows. So what would you see on a variety show? You'd see John Wayne, who you could watch on TV in any, $1 million movie every day as, John Wayne doing a John Wayne. But then he'd do the Bob Hope comedy special or whatever. And he'd do a comedy parody of the characters he plays in the movies. John Wayne wasn't the only one. Vincent Price did it. Peter Lorre did it. Frank, anybody who was an actor of note, although James Cagney's one that I always think, I don't remember seeing him on a lot of those shows, but that could have had something to do with his preparation as an actor. But I just knew I wanted to be an entertainer. I was a ventriloquist first, and then an impressionist, and then a magician, and then a clown in a circus who did magic, all probably your life. But it was about 13 years old. I walked into the Boyd Theater in Bethlehem, and I saw James Whitmore in a one-man movie, a movie of a one-man show called Give 'Em Hell Harry. And I'm an entertainer. I walked into the theater. I was undone. The performance was one guy on stage pretending to be talking to people. One guy. I came out of the theater and I said, I'm going to be an actor. Now, I know that that's the moment that I made that definitive decision. And right after that, I found local community theater. And so, Johnny, we could talk about all the stories. They're all going to come like this. But the bottom line is, you wanted to do what you wanted to do, and I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And what's the difference between us and the guy who's, say, like us, but he never did what he wanted to do? Well, the only difference is you had a goal and you walked toward it, and I had a goal and I walked toward it. And I tried my best to kind of shut out any white noise, and I just walked toward the goal. And you know, I know I don't want to make this all like a new age godly thing, but what I will tell you is, if I can do it, anyone can do it. But how do we tell young people you can do it, but you can't deviate? When it came time to, you know, get high, I was like, well, I gotta learn my lines for play. When it came time to, you know, create mischief, I'd say, well, you know, I'm writing a scene for, like, I mean, I always was working on the goal that I live in now.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I don't want to bore people with that stuff, but look, I wanted to, at one point, I thought of, I looked into getting that third class DJ license, which you still need it when we were kids. You need to have, remember, a license, well, you know, you had to have a license to be on the radio.
Yeah.
They needed to make sure you weren't going to incite people. And
Right.
now, you know, people on the radio or on YouTube, you know, we need to, you know, they're like, I haven't incited anyone today. So I have to incite people.
Yeah,
Now it's what they're going for.
Yeah, you're right. Well, you know, well, I am licensed through BMI because, you know, and nowadays you can have a streaming station, like my station's streaming. I will be getting a radio tower that's going to be located in Mexico, following in the footsteps of Wolfman Jack. You know, he had the tower in Mexico, and I can basically broadcast from anywhere. But, you know, I think it's important to, whether I have to or not, but be licensed through BMI so that the artists are getting their residuals like they should.
Yes. So that's actually right. So people understand kind of the mechanics in which music artists, when you play their music, are acknowledged and residual. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the old days, I think it was more about, you know, they wanted to make sure that you understood. I think it was also an emergency situation license, if I recall, because you would have been, if you were in the radio station and something terrible happened, they would have relied on you to, you know, to get out information necessary. Anyway,
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
a long time. It's a long time ago. But hey, you're a Wolfman Jack. Where are you from?
I'm from New Orleans.
All right.
Yeah, I'm in Houston, Texas now,
Okay.
but I'm from New Orleans.
Did you ever see Wolfman Jack on The Odd Couple?
No.
You look it up, see if you can put it into YouTube. Wolfman Jack, there's an episode of The Odd Couple where Felix decides he's going to write a song, and JP Morgan and everybody who loves The Odd Couple, and they can comment below if that's possible when you put this up.
Yeah.
You know, happy and peppy and bursting with love. It's a song that Felix Unger writes because the last song he wrote was in World War II. What he wrote, let's hit Hitler where he lives. So they take the music to Wolfman Jack to see what he says. And he goes, I've listened to scratches. I listened to car crashes. I've never, and he like says, like essentially, this is the worst thing I've ever heard. He goes, I like sounds. I dig sounds. I don't know. I'm paraphrasing, but you gotta look it up. It's very
Yeah,
fun.
let's see if we can play that. We'll do it right now.
I don't understand why we have to come here. Why don't we go direct to JP Morgan?
Wolfman Jack is the biggest disc jockey in the country, and he's a friend. I want his professional opinion. If he likes it, I'll bring it to Jay. And let me do the talking.
All right, if you need any help, give me a cue.
Yeah, if you see me drop my pants and do the funky chicken, that's your cue.
Feel all those vibrations, sweetheart. Get it into your soul. On WNBC 66 Louis. Oh, Oscar Madison, how you doing? Give it 10, baby.
Oh, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking the trouble to listen to our song.
Oh, the Wolfman Good Vibes Adventure, you understand?
He's my partner, Felix Unger. He's got the music with him.
Give me 10, Felix. Give me 10, baby. Get down with your pants. Good. He's your partner?
Mr. Wolfman, we know know you're busy, so we'll just leave the music, okay, Felix?
Well, listen, I dig the tape. I will definitely listen to the tape.
Yeah, at your own leisure, of course.
Solid.
Definitely.
We just want you to know that we are cognizant of your position as arbiter of taste for the younger generation. Most appreciative, sir.
What's he talking about? What's he talking about?
Just leave the tapes, Felix.
Have you got a machine here, or are you going to take it into another room and listen in privacy?
I'll dig the tape like I'll dig the tape.
All right. Here's the sheet music in case you want to follow
Give me the
along.
tape. Give me
Here's
the tape.
Yes. We thank you. Thank you, solid. Now, if you stand real close to your radio, the Wolfman is gonna inject a little boogie right into your ever-loving soul. Now let's all ride the elephant of happiness through the jungle of love, Mama.
Felix, he doesn't read. If he read it like that, he would be unemployed. You gotta give it feeling. You gotta move it. You gotta do the whole. Let me see, I'll show you.
Now, if you get real close to the radio, the Wolfman gonna take a little boogie right into your ever-loving soul. Do the love of Mama. Yeah, but it frightens your pocket. Now, if you stand real close. Boogie right into your ever-loving soul. Now, let's all ride the elephant of happiness through the jungle. I dig sound. I dig noises, rasps, scratches, screams in the night, you understand? I mean, I dig noise, man, but this is something else. You brought me down. I mean, I ain't been this down since 1957. Lady, right now, let's get rid of all the weird vibrations out of the studio here tonight. I want you all to lay your hand on the radio and feel all the goodness I gonna lay on you this evening, friends. Wolfman coming down off that battery acid I drank last night.
Can I share my story, my Wolfman Jack story with you?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
please.
Look, you had mentioned earlier about actually meeting the people that you looked up to and stuff. So it's so surreal when you're actually like looking right at them. The same thing happened with Carol Burnett, but that's another story because you mentioned the variety shows. I used to love Carol Burnett, the Dean Martin variety show. Cher, Sonny and Cher, and they were all the same thing. They did the little skits, the monologues, and so that's the same thing I did, the entertainer. So I never considered myself a comedian or an actor or entertainer. So. But what happened was when I started DJing, I was DJing in the 50s club. And when they heard me do Wolfman Jack, they said, well, why don't you cut a commercial for us? So I did a radio commercial, in the Wolfman Jack voice. Well, the station loved it, so they hired me to do a radio show. So, but I couldn't say Wolfman, I couldn't do the howl, all these different things. But so many people really thought that I was Wolfman Jack.
Oh.
Because they hear the voice and they get excited. So they call and like, oh, Wolfman, I just want to tell you, I just love you. Oh, I love you too. I got to go by. They go, is this really Wolfman Jack? I go, no, this is his sister. And I'd hang up, So, because I don't want to burst their bubble, but I don't want to say that I am, but then I don't want to say I'm not either, because I don't want to burst their bubble. So anyway, that was in San Antonio, Texas. I go to New Orleans, I go home for Mardi Gras parade, and there is Wolfman Jack on a float. And he's sitting there with his big black leather hat and a black cape. You can smell the leather, and so I'm like, wow, it's Wolfman. So, and I just happen to have my radio shirt on, logo, and I reached down and I grabbed a brown paper bag off the ground. And I asked my mom if she had a pen, and I wrote a note to him. And I wrote, yo, Wolf, I have a steak with chocolate sauce for you. Can I see you at the end of the parade? And I said that because on American Graffiti, the second album, he goes, well, I just had a steak with chocolate sauce. I'm ready to rock and roll. So I wrote that, and then I wrote Johnny Rock, K-O-N-O. I handed it to a little kid on the float. And he handed it to Wolfman, and I'm watching him read it, and I'm sidestepping, walking with the float, while he's reading them. And then he looks, and he does his eyes, and he's looking, and I'm waving, pointing at the shirt, and he goes, and he points, like, yeah, meet me at the end of the parade. So I followed the float all the way to the end of the parade. Well, there was a concert with the Shirelles, the Drifters, the Coasters, and Wolfman was them singing it. So it took like 45 minutes to get in. I had to tell the security. Yeah, Wolfman, he told me to meet him.
He invited me.
Yeah, he's
like his guest.
Yeah. They go, yeah, okay, sure. Well, I finally got back there, and it was a long hallway backstage, and you could see him sitting in a leather chair, and the music's blaring, and I felt like the cowardly lion or the scarecrow approaching the great and powerful odds. Yeah, I'm walking towards him, and he turns and looks and he nods like he may approach, So I get up to him. Well, he don't stand up because, he's the wolf. So he's got his big leather chair there too inside the float. It was on a float. They put it next to the stage. So I had to kneel down, and I'm like at the wolf throne, And he looks at me. I go, I shake his hand. I said, let me just tell you something, man. Ever since I was 13 years old, and I saw you at American Graffiti, I've been a big fan. And he just nods. I felt like I should have kissed his ring if he'd had, And he nods, and I go, in fact, I do a radio show out of San Antonio. I'm curious, have you ever got any feedback? And he goes, as a matter of fact, I heard about those McDonald's commercials you did. I said, did you really? He goes, did you do some McDonald's commercials? I said, yeah. He goes, well, I guess I heard about it. Where's my check? And I'm like, oh, man. So, that was really cool. And he stood up, took a Polaroid picture with me, and signed to Johnny Rock. Thanks for teaching me everything I know, your buddy Wolfman Jack. I'm like, wow, how awesome is that?
When you put that picture up, if you still have it.
Oh no, I lost that in Hurricane Katrina, along with so many of my radio stuff. But the memories, it's all in here.
Yeah.
And that's why I enjoy interviewing people like you that can share memories. So you tell us about the vampire magician. What is it?
So when I'm a kid, it's just ridiculous. I'm a kid, and one of those iterations of my performing life, I'm a clown. I auditioned to be clown in a circus. I don't even remember what the audition was. Like, what are they like? Here's a hammer, hit yourself and make me laugh. I don't remember. But I auditioned and they let me in and they go, but you got to come up with a clown character. So like, am I nuts? Am I insane? What do I come up with? I come up with the Count, who's a clown character. He's a funny vampire. And then everything he does is like, we're just clowns, but we all have personalities. But I wear a black tuxedo and a cape, not even not a white tuxedo and a clown cape. I'm dressed like I'm a clown, but I have white gloves. And although none of my pictures have the white gloves on them, I don't know why that is. But so that's what I created. And then, here we are, like 4 decades later, and Mr. Zombie calls me up and he goes, hey, Dan, you want to be Grandpa Munster? And I was like, I was so afraid. I've said this before. I was so afraid he was punking me. Like, and I even said, if you're punking me, this would be very cruel. So it was, and then he says, oh, by the way, I'll send you the script. And just so you know, the character's not written as Grandpa, it's written as the Count. And it wasn't until a little later that I was like, wait a minute. Wait, I was the Count. Right. When I was a funny vampire, like it's just crazy. It's just crazy.
Right. That's going back to the full circle. So and that's what really caught my attention was when I saw that photo of you as Grandpa the Count showing the 1313 Mockingbird Lane. I'm like, whoa, what's happening here? And then a lot of times with these reboots, you're not, but this is great.
People when they first announced this, there was a lot of shade and hate thrown at it. And I don't know. Look, I don't know. It's easier. I've learned that as an actor, and maybe you've learned that as an entertainer. It's so much easier to say something bad because you could make a joke out of saying something bad, but you can't make a joke out of saying something good. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So people, they just want to say something bad and get their little ming in.
Yeah.
But like, I'll tell you, Bryan Singer made a version of the Munsters that's horrible. And I don't remember any shade being thrown at him. His version of the Munsters was, we're going to make the Munsters look gorgeous, but they're going to be awful people, which isn't really the Munsters. That just sounds like, people. So that just sounds like politicians. Nice looking people are awful. I mean, all this shade that got thrown on it, but it was Rob Zombie is literally the greatest choice on the planet to make this movie because he loves the Munster.
Yeah.
And he was going to make sure that Universal understood how great the Munsters could be. And he did such a great job directing, writing, producing this movie. Such a great job.
So it's in the y'all finished filming?
We're still, it's an ongoing project. Let's say that.
So what about Butch Patrick, Eddie Munster? He's
a great guy. So Ronnie, I could talk about what it was like, how excited I was when I found it, and I could say I'm having fun shooting it, but I can't tell you any details of it.
Okay.
I wish that I could tell your audience, but my friend Butch Patrick, I like dropping his name.
Yeah.
Butch is a great guy. He's going to spend the summer. While we're talking, he's going to spend the summer at an amusement park. John, fill in for me. I'm going to find this because it's important.
Yeah. Well, I met Butch Patrick. I guess maybe about two years ago. I think maybe at John Schneider. John Schneider has a thing he does every year called Bo's Extravaganza.
Oh, okay.
And so Butch travels with the Munster Mobile, and when I saw that again, he's just such an icon, and it's one of those things. You're looking right at him, you're talking to him. He's such a nice, friendly guy, and he actually. I'm real big on getting drops from people when I run into them.
Oh yeah, you get him to say, "Hey, well, listen to
Yeah. So exactly. Yeah. So he actually sat in the Munster Mobile and did the.
Hey, this is Butch Patrick, and when I'm out cruising in the Munster coach, I listen to Johnny Rock on the Johnny Rock Rock and Roll Radio Show, and you should too.
By the way, and I'm just so we can pitch it. Indiana Beach Amusement Resort. Butch Patrick will be there all summer. Check the schedule, but. Over the years, many big bands and oldies bands have played there. So Indiana Beach Amusement Resort, go online and you'll have a chance to meet Butch Patrick there. You will also have a chance to meet Butch and I, Jeff Daniel Phillips. As best we can, we'll be traveling around and signing autographs and meeting people at these conventions. I have a number of them coming up. I know I'm going to Days of the Dead in Chicago, I think in May, but a lot of that's coming up. But Butch is a great guy and a good example, by the way, of a good man overcoming a lot, and by his own admission. And very proud of him and proud of everything he does.
Yeah, it's the same here. Yeah.
Watch the Munsters. When he's a kid, he's a great actor. Like. He's right up there with little Ronnie Howard and Jodie Foster. Eddie Munster.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you didn't have to audition for the Munsters. Rob called you. You've worked with Rob already before and other stuff. You have over 250 credits. Now, do you have any idea how many auditions you've done?
That's such a good question. So, I'm actually writing a book, Johnny, called The Audition is the Job and Other Truths That I've Learned in the Land of Make-Believe. Because many people write books on how to audition. But what's funny is, and look, you probably have the same thing in your business. And musicians probably have the same thing in their business. But when there's somebody with a dream to achieve something, there's a secondary, so there's the business that is the business through which they meet their goal. And then there is a sub business of awful human beings who have figured out a way to take advantage of people who have dreams of doing something bigger.
Yeah.
It's models, acting, music. I'll be your manager. I'll get you your record label. I'll get you an agent. I'll get you on the cover of a magazine. And these criminals, in some instances, or just failed people at another instance, or so there's so many stratas. Now it sounds like I'm attacking them all. I'm not. Let's be very clear. Someone who is going to guarantee you that you're going to be a star if you adapt their methodology, when in fact they have not utilized their methodology to become a star themselves, would make you suspect, and it should make you suspect. If they're not a musician you've heard of, they can't help you get a record label. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have to be leery of this. Anyway, I'm writing this book because I'm sick and tired of a lot of young actors spending a lot of money to get advice that's terrible.
Yeah.
So if I've been on 250 shows, and that's really not true, I've been on so many more than that, but IMDb list average, I did 60 Matlocks and they counted as one.
Okay,
so let's say over the course of everything I've done, like I did 180 shows of a show I did called Classic for Net TV in Brooklyn, which was a show where we watched old classic movies and then discussed them from a faith perspective. I did 180 episodes of that. So let's say I'm way over 600, and then you add the theater, way over 700. So if I've been in 700 things, I've been on 7,000 auditions.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as I get older, my numbers, like let's say it used to be 1 in 10, then 1 in 5. Now I'm about 1 in 3.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
When I
1 in
audition.
10, 1 in 10, I think it seems to be like maybe the typical. It's funny when you were talking. I just got a text from my agent just now. Oh wait,
Please.
It's my insurance agent. Never mind. Hey, what a crowd! What a crowd! I tell you.
Hey, Louie, listen. So the last day job I ever had, I worked for a film market research company. This would be 1986. After I had shot Cave Girl, but before I got River's Edge, and from River's Edge on, it's been a good blessed ride. But Cave Girl, my first move. So we're in this film market research company back in 1986 without computers, where we would collate information that would come in from screenings of, they'd show Clue, and we would collate the info, 12 people like Michael McKean, 4 people like Lee Ving. We'd collate that information, put it all in one thing, and then they give it to the film. So one time, one of our guys in the room, my great buddy Bill Series, he's a great guy, known him since Cave Girl, and he, I think, got me the job. He gets a call from his agent. He's got to call his agent back. And then there's 12 of us in a room, and we're all like, Bill's going to call his agent, Bill's going to call his agent. And we're all like musicians and writers and directors and actors, and we love each other. And he calls the agent and he goes, "Oh, yes, a Christmas party. Yes. Oh, agents and managers. And yeah, a lot of insiders. Yes, great. Yes, what time? Huh? What? No, I don't think I can do that. Bill, what? Because she wanted me to valet the cars.
Just think of the people you'll meet. So and that's a true story.
Yes.
Wow, man.
What kind of people are these? From a standpoint, so in 1986-ish, I went with a manager named Wayne Rice, a talent manager. And then I was with Wayne until about 1997 or 8 or 9. And he became such a successful writer and producer that, he was busy. And I said to him one day, Wayne, my brother, what you're so busy. He goes, well, why don't you just go with Leslie? I knew his wife, and she was a manager too. So I'm with Leslie. So I've been with Wayne through Leslie. So I consider that Wayne and Leslie for 36 years.
Wow. That's
I
awesome.
will never not be with Wayne and Leslie. Like, I'm a very loyal person. You try, with agents and whatnot, but
Yeah.
like what an incredible blessing for an
real,
actor to have that kind of consistency in his life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's talk about Andy Griffith. Because I know that's another full circle story too. And
I loved Andy Griffith as a kid, as we all did, of course. And I went and I was a guest star in one episode, and then I ended up a series regular based on that one guest star.
Right. So now who was it that promised that you'd be back? Was it a producer?
Andy did. Andy, Andy. So I did an episode, and he and I had an interaction that was very actor positive, meaning that he did something while filming the scene, and instead of reverting to how he rehearsed it, I went with what he did, and then he liked that, because it just informed him that I was an actor listening, and Johnny. So he, the next day, the director says to me, he goes, "I don't know what you did to the old man." He goes, "But he said he wants you to be a series regular." I couldn't believe my good luck and the possibility of it. Now that it took a while, they tried to put me on the show after that, and then Fred Silverman, the network executive, nixed it. Then the show was going off the air, and I did another episode. But then I got a call from Wayne Rice, and he goes, Roby, he calls me Roby. This was after the show was canceled and after they didn't pick me up, and while we were shooting the other version, the other episode, what was going to be the last episode on NBC. And he goes, Roby, sit down. I go, "Oh yeah, all right, I'm sitting down." He goes, "You know what? No, lay down." No, he goes, "Lay down. Trust me." So I lay down on the floor of my office. And I go, "All right, I'm laying down." He goes, "So you're a new series regular on Matlock?" And I said, No, that's not, they canceled the show." He goes, No. ABC picked it up, and Andy Griffith said, "Now I'm the executive producer. Now get me Danny Roebuck and Brent there."
Yeah. So that's a great story. And again, like I said earlier, when I was looking at your resume and reading some of your bios, there was so many parallels that, like, wow, man, it's like same thing. I did 2 episodes on Tyler Perry's The Have and Have Nots. And after I did the first episode, it was the second episode, that I was called into the producer's office, and he told me, "Okay, we're going to bring you back. We're going to develop your character, blah, blah, blah." Well, they never brought me back, and now the show's over, and what a blessing that was to even just that 2 episodes,
don't I wouldn't count that out, because those showrunners are look, they responded because you came, you did the job, you did it well. They were like, "Well, let's put him in this other episode." Then you did that well. Show gets canceled. That's out of everybody's hands. But they all look. If you go and you're prepared and you do your job, it doesn't matter if you work at Food Lane or on Matlock or on Tyler Perry's show. If you perform well, they'll bring you back, because if you're a nice person, they like having nice people around.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the term network. People say network now, and it's become such a catchphrase that it's taught in colleges, much to my consternation. Look, God created a big, beautiful world, and he populated it with a lot of big, beautiful personality. But he didn't do that so that you could befriend someone so that they would help you.
Right. Yeah.
He did it so that you would befriend someone and you would help them.
Yeah.
The whole purpose of our existence on this planet is to assist each other. And anybody that tells you anything, everybody that says it's only about you, they're wacky. And anybody that says, take advantage of people, that's wacky. No, you're here to listen when a door needs to be open, or an old person needs to sit down in a car, or like if you just open your brain, there's 1 million opportunities every day to help someone. Your wife comes in the house and she's carrying groceries. All you gotta do is go over and grab one of the bags, you know? So wherever you are, whatever you do, you have an opportunity to help. Anyway.
Hey man, right on.
But that's like what Andy Griffith did for me. He didn't say, what can I do for you? Or Dan, what are you gonna do for me? His first reaction was, what can I do for this guy?
Yeah, right on. Well, you know, I know that you do what do they call it? Mentoring for young actors. And you know, when I watched, you did a podcast last week, I think, with some comedians. I watched that whole thing, and you know what? You mentored me while I was watching it. I mean, I learned so much, and I really felt like, okay, well, this guy just got finished mentoring me, you know. And what I'm really, so I'm impressed that you do that. I want to. You teach classes?
Well, every now and again I'll teach a how to audition. I call it a how to audition experience. Look, I'm a busy guy.
Sure, yeah.
I did that. You know, my new way of doing it is I direct a movie and I cast people who have never been in a movie, and then you know, that turns into a real mentoring situation. I think if your listeners, if you would share like the way I make these faith-filled family movies, I make them through a channelofpeace.org, a channel of peace. If people go there, they'll actually see specific comments about the young actors and interns talking about how we work with not just me, but everybody I surround myself with.
Big wink, and then back, and then turn. You know what I mean? We hire many local actors. In fact, almost all of our nuns and all of our boys are from the Lehigh Valley or the surrounding, like we go, one or two of the kids are from Philly.
But I don't know, now you're acting.
His ability to see, you know, potential in us and give us speaking roles is crazy. Like on set, they'll be like, you guys having fun? They'll keep asking us. I don't even know what to say, because it's like, you know, it's like overwhelming.
This is your first feature film, right?
First feature, yeah.
How's the director?
Really, really good.
Wait, that's all you got? Wait, really, really good? Not extra parts, lead roles to local talent, proving what I've always maintained.
Bill, what are you talking about?
Only an idiot or a snob that thinks the best actors are in Los Angeles or New York. There's great actors everywhere. My talent is finding them.
I think because Dan's an actor as well as a director, he is able to pluck these kids with no experience and get completely realistic performances out of them. And that's really hard to do.
Roll cameras.
My main partners are my wife, my daughter, dear friends. So Marcia here and I have known each other for almost...
I was 19 years old when I met Dan, so we've been friends, I'm not gonna say how many years, but we've been friends for a long time.
We've been together 8 years, married over 5, and as soon as we got together, he said, I wanna make a movie, and I said, let's do it.
I had founded a group called the Gulf South Actors Group years ago, to do the same thing, you know, share information, share auditions, acting tips, this and that. And then when I moved to Texas, I turned the group over to 2 actors, Lance Nichols, who also is just constantly booking. He's got an IMDb like yours. You know, when I was scrolling your IMDb, I scrolled so far down that the fonts started turning into the original Greek language. I was like,
I always say, my intent is, I want while you're scrolling, I want you to actually get carpal tunnel syndrome. I want you, by the time you get to Cave Girl, you're like, I gotta go call an orthopedic surgeon. That's you know, they pay, it's like the dentists who give out lollipops on Halloween. You're like, I know what you're doing. I'm trying to get more business. So I have a contract with some orthopedic hand surgeons, which is they make me work so that you know you'll.
I would need a referral.
But you did you start a new group in Dallas or?
No, I haven't, because you know I kind of, I'm not going to say I got away from the acting, but for the last year, I did do some films last year with Scott Inez, who who is the voice of Scooby-Doo. It's one of those coming this fall, but it's been 2 falls so far. But coming this fall.
I can tell you that as a independent filmmaker, like I love working for the big guys and taking their money so that I can put it into my movies. But the one thing so many people have a hard time with is finishing project.
Yeah.
And that's generally a money issue.
Exactly. Yeah.
Other times they're looking at the footage and they're realizing it's not cuttable. That's a problem too.
Yeah.
Famous story. Remember the clown who laughed? Jerry Lewis made a movie about a clown at a concentration camp and spent a lot of money, like $15-20 million on it.
Do you say Gary Lewis or Jerry Lewis?
Jerry Lewis.
Okay.
And he finally decided it was unwatchable, like his own movie. So other people had financed it. He had to give them all their money back so that he could bury the movie forever. And was asked right before his death about it. And he said, no one will ever see it. No one will ever see it. He said, essentially, it was a miscalculation on my part. So I guess when he finally got into it as a Jewish person, he was watching it thinking, I can't do this. Now, think then Roberto Benigni with Life is Beautiful did kind of find a workaround to make an amazing comedy set in a concentration camp. And Jerry Lewis may not have just been able to figure out that path in. Anyway, so that's
when you mentioned Clown and Jerry Lewis, like I because his son Gary recorded the song "Everybody Loves a Clown," so that's why I thought just to Gary at first. But so the Gulf South Actors Group, I share these videos to the group, and so Lance Nichols and Valika Gray, who's a soap opera legend, they run the group now. But there's several thousand members, so that's why I like to share. If you have a class, how can they find you?
Thank you. Well, if somebody in New Orleans or Houston wants, they should just track me down. They can find me on Facebook or through you. But I will. We can talk about how to do that. But
let's talk about a channel of peace, because I did get that. That was the main thing I wanted to talk about, was because of the Getting Grace. When I saw that trailer for Getting Grace, it just touched my heart.
Grace has always had a strange way of doing things.
She's a funny kid. I mean, it's extraordinary to see how her mind works. She's dealing with this better than most people at her advanced stage.
She's definitely not getting any better.
My first question is, have you ever seen a miracle?
Grace, this is not how it's done.
Hey, dig that. Destiny.
Okay, where are you? See, I don't find this kind of thing funny. Where are you?
Does this coffin make me look fat?
I don't have time for your pranks. This is my business. I'd be more than happy to call the police.
Hello, police. Thank God. I'm being held hostage in my beautiful funeral home by a bald, sickly-looking teenage girl. I just want to know what's going to happen to me. Can I ride in the hearse?
Wait your turn.
She is delightful.
Yeah, she's a barrel of laughs, every one of them inappropriate.
Where you going, Welcha?
I'm not gonna fall for your tricks.
It's just normalcy, Bill. Don't be afraid of being normal.
Well, look who's talking.
I want to believe because I believe, not because I'm afraid of dying. Teach me.
To bend spoons or to believe?
It's the dying that really is easy. How am I doing? You don't choose to die. It just happens when it happens. But living right takes fighting and commitment and honor and all those things that are so damn hard for so many humans.
I'm not strong. Not like you.
What are you afraid of, Bill? Me! Well, you'll be glad to know that it's only convenient till soon pass. This is my better life, my happy ever after. This is how I'll survive my miracle, my
And then what? What do I do when you're gone?
I think some people get grace, and others never will.
So when I get to the other side, do you want me to contact you?
How about we not get ahead of ourselves? How about we start with the other side of the table, see how that goes?
So Getting Grace is about a teenage girl who's dying of cancer, goes into a funeral home to find out what's going to happen after she dies. And then she ends up teaching the funeral director how to celebrate life. So, Johnny, Getting Grace was not made through a channel of peace. It was financed through more, traditional methodology. However, it did kind of show me that I could make a movie that had a positive effect on the world. And then I just wanted to see if I could push this ideology of making a movie through a not-for-profit. It's rarely done, if ever, and it's rarely truly done, meaning that someone figures out a way to scam the system, but we don't scam the system. We make the movie and raise the money to make it and then put it out. We're using Getting Grace now. We've had this amazing, so Getting Grace, I just told you what it was about, but it opened in a few theaters, reopened 4 years later in a few theaters. And it's going to open more and more. It's opening in Saginaw this week. It's going to be in Pennsylvania, a few places next week, I think, or the week after. Regardless, so Getting Grace was made, came out, did what it did. Now, after 2 years of COVID, maybe when Getting Grace came out, it's good that you bring attention to like cancer, pediatric cancer. Maybe one in 10 families have to deal with cancer. Maybe 1 in 50 have to deal with pediatric cancer. But because of COVID, Johnny, 1 in 3 or 4 have dealt with a death in a close family. This movie, I actually went to the first 2 theaters that booked it as kind of we did it together, and I wanted to be there to meet the audience. Well, nobody would talk after it. People usually love to do a Q&A. Nobody would talk because the movie's gobsmacking them. So now I realize it's now more than ever. The world needs grace. We need it.
Amen.
And we need to have this kind of like this release of the grief mechanism. Hey man, set out to make a comedy. That's what I set out to do.
Yeah.
Set out to make a comedy that was unique. What ended up happening, because I was utilized as a tool for, I think, a greater purpose, as were all my actors, producers. We created a thing that can touch your heart. And then we've used that thing in the last 4 years to raise almost 140,000 or more than 140,000. One of us has to write it down because we've raised 140,000 for charity with the movie for grief counseling and hospice care. And we continue to do that. So that's what Getting Grace is. It's a not-for-profit in which people could join in my mission to help me make faith-based family movies, the kind of movies that no one will make anymore. Hollywood, don't count on Hollywood to make them. They're not going to make them.
Right.
They don't need to make them. They don't want to make them. I do feel like, please don't. I feel like there's a different agenda being forced at people. And you'd be surprised. My movies are faith-based, but they're not right-wing movies. They're movies about people dealing with situations, and we don't hit you over the head about Jesus. We just remind you that a relationship with a God, our God, is going to help your life go better.
Yes, indeed. I love that. And so the website is achannelofpeace.org.
Correct.
And then I just love the faith-based films too. And before we go, I did want to mention, because you mentioned comedic, the comedy roles, your role on Bubba Ho Tep. I love that. I love Bubba Ho Tep, which was just the story itself was great. I've owned an Elvis museum. I've actually wore 2 of his jumpsuits. I have so many connections with Elvis. And Bubba Ho Tep it just cracked me up. And but you've done so many films. Before we go, what is your greatest memory of all time from either on set, in your career? Greatest memory that you'd like to
Johnny,
share?
it's such a great question. So wearing is somebody trying to deliver a package? Tell them to come in. Come in. You're on the thing with Danny Roebuck. Come in.
Right,
I like you, and you've developed your own terminology for I'm on a podcast. Yeah, look, podcast, me, I'm famous. I know you'll edit this out, but I think you should keep it in because it's funny.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna leave it in. He kept calling, and I even answered so that he could hear the interview going on. Now he's honking the horn out the window. It's cool that I have a window for the radio station because people walk by and I can wave and then they can walk in. They can come tell you hi. Look, it's Mike Kramer. He's the brother of Tommy Kramer, who used to quarterback for the Vikings. Here, come say hi to Danny.
Mike Kramer, we're on a podcast. It's a very big deal. Did he forget that you're going to lunch? Let me see you, Mike. How are you, buddy?
How you doing?
I'm so good.
Who are you with?
I'm with Tammy Roebuck.
Yeah, he's just
Mike. We'll fill you in later.
Yeah, he's just getting you. I'm in the middle of this.
But who is he with?
He's with me. It's Danny Roebuck.
Oh, Roebuck.
Remember I told you earlier I had the interview.
Okay.
All right. We'll edit this part out.
I dare you to keep this part in.
Well, there we go.
Look, this is like just when you think that you are such a recognizable face and a known person. Our buddy Mr. Kramer comes in and goes, "Who are you with?"
Yeah.
Kramer, you're right. Who am I with? I don't know. But I'm with Johnny Rock. That's who I'm with.
There you go. Well, I know Mike used to watch Matlock all the time.
Sure. Now the problem is that was so long ago. I look like Matlock. Let me say this. You asked a question. I'm avoiding it. I'm going to just say this. What is one thing that's been great for me? Let's say actor to actor is I have figured out a way to have a lifelong career in which I keep building a new audience. Having gone from youth movies to like an evergreen show like Matlock. So those people are getting older, but then I've got the Disney Channel, then I've got Lost and whatever is the thing. Now we have the Munsters, and the Munsters is a PG movie, so it's going to be a new generation of families that we're bringing to this fun humor, introducing to this family, and they'll go back and they'll discover the old Munsters TV show. So we're building anything. One of my greatest moments as an actor, or as an entertainer,
your greatest memory,
I had 10,000, but one day I directed a movie and wrote it with my daughter, and to be on the set and say, "You take it," and have your daughter say, "Action." I work with my wife and I work with my son and I work with my daughter, and my father comes by and my mother comes by, and I make these movies and we're all kind of having an experience together. My daughter's husband to be is our key grip. My old friends are my actors. Like, it's the greatest gift I have. And I think all of my success, no matter what it was, specifically led me to being in this place to make these movies to a channel of peace.
That's great. I love that. Now, I hope the guys that did the podcast with you don't mind, but I loved how that show ended. And, we're going to go back to the TV series Lost. And, I love that show. And I remember your character. And one of the things, I love that the show is called Lost because I was totally lost watching it. I'm like, wait, what's going on? But that I think your character has the quickest exit of all time for leaving an episode, for leaving a series. So it was a season finale, right?
Right, first season finale.
Yeah. first I want to thank you for coming on, and I'd love to have you back because again, we barely.
There's 1,000 things to talk about.
Yeah. So, you know, love to have you back. Thank you for being on the show, and tell us a little bit about this scene that we're about to watch.
So in Lost, I have a stick of dynamite in my hand, and I'm yelling at them about how careful they have to be if they're going to handle dynamite that's many years old. And then Dr. Arst goes to heaven.
And here's that scene right now.
Nitroglycerin is the most dangerous and unstable explosive known to man. Any of you ever hear about the guy who invented nitroglycerin? Probably not, because he blew his freaking face off. His lab assistant came into the room, saw that his men had detonated, and he said, "Huh, I guess this stuff does work." All right, we're not going to take any more of this stuff than we need because nitroglycerin is extremely temperamental. So we.
Well, there we go. We want to thank Daniel Roebuck for being on the Johnny Rock and Roll Radio Show.
Special thank you to our executive producer, Lori Vance, for tonight's show, and also a special thanks to Tandy Roebuck, ABC Philadelphia, and of course, channelofpeace.org.